What's up, guys? Coming to you here on a Sunday evening, and I hope you guys like the pilot episode. Got a lot of good feedback on it, a lot of likes, several subscribers. Pretty excited about that. You have to forgive me though for the clarity of the picture. I'm using my laptop. It's it's not very good quality whatsoever. Got to get a nicer camera, and I apologize in advance, so bear with me. But anyway, I hope the pilot episode was a good kind of teaser. I've got to work a little more with the software on here, try to get better editing. Like I said, brand new to this. Um, I usually go live on Facebook and Instagram every Sunday night, different times and stuff like that. You got to remember, folks, that I am in Europe right now. So, it's kind of hard doing it for folks back home, but I try my best. Um, but anyway, I want you guys to keep in mind that these videos will be catering to historical and or traveling um, oriented videos. Um, and I do have a trip coming up next week to the Catania World War II Museum, which is, for you folks who don't know where Catania is, it is here in Sicily, where I'm at over in Italy. And it's going to be quite a treat. It's going to be a good trip, and I'll do a video for it. And I'll have a good little history lesson for you guys. And if you've got any questions, like I said, please feel free to comment, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Um, anyway, I'd like to probably start this video off by saying that this video will be titled, for those of you who don't know me, if you haven't seen my profile picture or anything like that, hence I said I'm overseas. I am in the Navy, and I guess this video will be titled My Boot Camp Experience. I guess that's a good way. I've seen many folks before put these on YouTube, both um, folks that are active and folks that are retired, now veterans. Um, and of course, depending on who says it, I guess, depends on how you'll word it. I'm thinking folks that are out of the service, of course, can kind of spill the beans and speak freely, whereas, folks like myself who are active or even reserves have to be more careful about what they say and stuff like that. You can't just start going off. So I totally understand that. Um, so I'll give you the best version that I can. And most folks I've seen who do these videos, they go straight to when they got off the bus at RTC. No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to take you guys back all the way to the beginning of delayed entry. Now, granted, everyone's experience is different, but I feel it's necessary because a lot of folks don't seem to elaborate on delayed entry that much. Granted, it's not as important as the boot camp itself, but you still have to touch on it because a lot of folks don't understand it. So I'll probably start off, and I'm trying to give viewpoints, of course, from myself, but also, you know, I'll hit it as a third person, but also in a first person, I guess you would say as well. So I'll start it off by saying I dipped in, if you will, to the delayed entry program, which is what DEP stands for, January 8th of 2016, um, in which I went to MEPS, military entry, I can't speak today, I apologize, military entrance processing station, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, and there you go to the classifier and you choose your rate, um, or as other branches would say, MOS. Anyway, but for us sailors, it's rate. Um, anyway, I chose a builder. A lot of folks don't know what a builder would be. It's a CV rate. A lot of people don't even know what Bs are. There's 7 rates in the Bs. We are the Naval Construction Force. We're almost our own little organization compared to the fleet side of the Navy. Um, so, there's a lot of fleet stuff that folks have asked me before and I don't know, and there's some stuff I do know. So you'll have to you have to forgive me for that. Anyway, but yeah, I got into the delayed entry program, and I was only supposed to be in the program for 6 months, in which I was promoted to the recruit leading chief petty officer, which is known as an RPOC. Um, and you have your second in command, which is your AROC, which is just your recruit chief petty officer, and several lower positions, basically the same ranking system that you would have in which you get to boot camp. And they try your recruiting station will try its best to prepare you, but it is your job as a poolee, if you will, or future sailor, to to study your start guides, in which you will receive at MEPS or from your recruiters in like a swag bag, if you will. And it's your job, but it's also your RPOC's job, in which I was supposed to be for 6 months, and it turned out I was an RPOC for a year. Um, it's your recruiter's job, I would say, and your RPOC and AROC's job to make sure that you are thoroughly prepared for when you go to RTC Great Lakes, because once you get there, it begins and it's the real thing. So in the start guide, it covers everything basic general Navy knowledge, from military time to the phonetic alphabet to ranks and recognition to just about anything that you're probably going to need uh, to start your boot camp experience, for that matter, your naval career. Um, so I ended up going to RTC Great Lakes on December 13th of 2016. Um, And I remember when we got there, it was the coldest I had ever been before. I'm not from up north, so it was absolutely miserable. Snow up past the windows. I think it was 19 degrees with a wind chill of negative 30, if I'm not mistaken. Talk about the Windy City, old Chicago. Um, but here we go, getting off the bus. And what you'll do is you'll go into processing, which is building. It's called the Golden 13. If you don't know what that is, all the buildings or ships or whatever you want to call them at RTC Great Lakes are named after historical ships and or historical naval battles or historical naval figures um, regarding naval histories. So Golden 13, if you don't know what it is, look it up. It's Golden 13 were 13. You have to bear with me because I'm a little foggy. But if I'm not mistaken, it was the 13 first African American, I guess you would say, commissioned officers in the U.S. Navy, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. I think that's right. But that's the namesake of that building, and which is processing. Um, in which you'll go in and immediately put your packet in this little mail cart. And as soon as you make a right face down this P-way, it all begins. You see the flags, the naval flags on the floor, Alpha through Zulu. And that's where it all begins. There was a chief standing there already getting on to us. So um, it really begins there, and it was like a shock to a system. It's not like the Marines where they're yelling at you to get off the bus, whatever. We just got off the bus and walked in. Um, but yeah, backtracking a little bit, when we were at the airport, um, they'll receive you at the end of this corridor that seems like there's nobody down there. Was no one down there, and we didn't even get about 50 feet, and all of a sudden you see all these people sitting, crisscross applesauce or whatever you want to call it, back straight at attention, and two petty officers pacing back and forth with their RDC ropes on, and we didn't even get close enough before they were already, started the yelling. So it was it was definitely a shock to the system. It was crazy. Um, but anyway, going back to being at Golden 13, um, we got to Golden 13. Like I said, you'll get in, and eventually you'll line up down the P-way facing one of the other two lines. Um, and all of a sudden, that's when it's really, 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 really real. And you have to make your phone call to your family or your recruiter or whoever. You got to get in contact with somebody and let them know that you've arrived at RTC safely. And then you eventually go in this room where I think it's kind of funny because if they give you bottles of water and you're supposed to chug them, and if you don't have to go to the bathroom, you better believe you better do laps around this classroom type room, I guess you would say, and drink out of the fountain because that's the first thing you do when you get there is urinalysis, and you got to go. I mean, you got to go. So I would say that was kind of odd. These urinals don't have any dividers. You're just in this giant bathroom going to use the restroom in a cup, and it's now the head, not a restroom. You're in the head, and I'll never forget coming out, standing in a line, nut to butt, as they say, with a little jar with my urine in it over my shoulder. My arm had actually gone numb because I had been holding it for so long. And that's just how slow, I guess, the processing was. So, anyway, you step on this machine. Eventually, once you turn in your urine, you step on this machine. They'll give you your foot's, I guess your foot size or whatever, and what type of insole you'll need or shoe type you'll need, high arch, low arch, normal arch, whatever. Anyway, and they go to ditty bag issue. And once you go to ditty bag issue, that's basically where you rid yourself of all your civilian attire, anything that you don't need, like your cell phone, your civilian clothing, stuff like that. It goes in a box, and and you put your name on it, and you'll tape that bad boy up, and off it goes. It goes home. Um, and at that point, you're probably butt naked by that point. Everyone was naked. Um, and you're basically molded from the ground up, in which everything from tidy whities, which are now skivvies, um, you'll have on your PT shorts, you'll have on a yellow PT shirt, you'll have on sweatpants and a hoodie. But I think recently that's changed, and the hoodie and the sweatpants are now gone. If I'm not mistaken, it's now a tracksuit, or at least that's what I've seen other people wearing. Apparently, it's a reflective looking tracksuit. Then you'll get your Go Fasters, which are your tennis shoes. They're usually New Balances. If you're lucky, you might get a nice pair of Nikes, maybe. They're horrible looking, but those you'll get knee high white socks, in which you'll take one white sock and you'll put your wallet in. If you have a calling card, I highly recommend getting a calling card. If you don't have one, um, before you get to RTC, you can always buy one. If you make a trip to the next, it's the best way to load money on and make phone calls via the payphones when you get to go throughout your weeks there to call home. And anyway, calling card. If you have credit cards or a little bit of cash, I don't recommend a lot. I recommend a minimum of maybe $10, 20 at the most. That's pushing it, but you really don't need that much cash. Um, anyway, that's about all. You'll put in a little sock and you'll tie it in a knot and stick it right in the front part of your pants. And everything else that they give you, everything else, all your toiletries and all that, all your other stuff will go in the sea bag, and the sea bag goes on your back. And that's when it really begins, in which I guess they kind of differentiate who does what, because at that point they ended up getting your height and weight again, and after that you'll go down this next little P-way, I guess, or hallway corridor. It's a P-way. But you'll go down, and most folks went down this P-way and took a left and went out into the hallway again and sat back down crisscross applesauce with their sea bag, and they were in your regular divisions. But a select few get lucky. Um, I was coming down the hallway, and the petty officer stopped me. He said, "Hey, what'd you do before you joined the Navy?" And I told him what I did, and he said, "Would you show on your ASVAB?" I told him. "Can you swim?" "Yes, petty officer." "Okay, hold out your hand." And at that point, he wrote on the top of my hand the numbers 915. Well, And they'll ask this when you're sitting down waiting too, but I didn't answer because I didn't know really what it was at the time. But and I'll touch on it real quick. I highly recommend it. This is just me. If not, fine. If if you've ever played a musical instrument, if you've ever done ROTC and can do drill with a rifle, if you can sing, if you did chorus, anything like that, if you've ever done flag detail, like an honor guard or a drill team, do it. When they come around and ask, you do it. And I know that sounds weird, but you will then be placed in a 900 division. Now, what that means is you will be one of three. You will either be staff, you will be triple threat, or you will be state flags. Let me elaborate. If you are staff, like myself, you will run graduation. And it consists of everything from honor guard to the wardroom to side boys to I'm forgetting one of them. I can't think of body snatchers. That's it. Body snatchers. Um, these guys, they run graduation, and I was very honored to be part of that. 915, who ya? And that's what staff divisions do. If you're the triple threat, now triple threat is drill, meaning they spin the rifles. That's different from honor guard from what I did. Honor guard just kind of comes out and presents with their rifles, different. Then you also have the band, and you have chorus. That's triple threat. So if you can sing, play an instrument, or spin a rifle, then that's for you. Um, and then finally, you've got state flags. State flags come out and they do their routine in which they parade different. They parade all the state flags, and that's about it. So if you're any good at any of that, or you've ever done it, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. That's just coming from me, so I can't, speak for regular divisions. Now, I will touch on 800s. 800s, to be placed in an 800 division, you have to contract as special forces, spec war. SEALs, SWIC, EOD, Diver, Air Rescue, one of those five, if I'm not mistaken, that would be 800 divisions. They're a little bit smaller, but they're tougher because of spec war. Anyway, as I was saying, back on track. Um, I'm going to come at you guys from a 900 division perspective because I don't know what a regular division would have done. I'm sure it's very similar to our training. If not, I feel 900 divisions is a little more squished because we focus more on graduation. Unlike other divisions, focus more on trying to get to graduation. We're focused on actually doing the graduation itself. So anyway, the I remember you will go to your compartment, which will be your living quarters for the next week. I unfortunately got there during the holiday season, so I was there for 2 weeks. And it kind of stinks, living in sweatpants and a sweatshirt and tidy whities for 2 weeks straight. But it is what it is. And you'll go there to the USS Pearl Harbor, and that will be your home away from home for the next, at least for the next week or 2 week, which is just what they call P days, processing days, in which within this time frame you will acquire your how do you put it? Everything that was in the C bag that you got from Diddy bag issue will now be stamped with your name and your division's number. That way, everyone can keep track of whose clothing's who, um, what belongs to who, or whatever the case may be. And you'll eventually get your rack, and you'll have a rack mate more than likely, unless you just don't have one. Most people do, especially when you start out because you have everybody in those divisions. Um, anyway, the next step will be very early on. You will go to, I can't remember if I'm not mistaken, but you'll eventually, every day you'll get up and do something different. It's usually, you know, I'm trying to stamp this, or I'm trying to organize this, or let's run. Let's see if we can make up our racks. Let's go do bunk drills. It's like that to you and your rack mate will you'll strip your own rack, but then you'll be allotted a certain amount of time for you and your rack mate to, make the bunk up. So, or bunks up, excuse me. So, that's kind of, a start to it. You're like, oh, okay, this is, you're learning the ropes, and all that, and trying to connect with people around you. And, in the beginning, nobody knows anybody. Um, you come from all different backgrounds around the country, around the world, and not exactly, people don't exactly see eye to eye, especially early on. There were several nights in which some of the guys in my compartment almost were fighting with each other. It was because nobody knew each other. People had different viewpoints. People had different, religions and political affiliations and stuff like that. So it can get, out of hand if you're not careful. So, but we you got to realize you got to work as a team early on. That way, later on it's easier. So, anyway, I think about second week, our RDCs came in. And you have three of those, and that's your, you know, recruit division commanders, and they picked us up and they'll take you to your ship. Now, depending what division you are, I don't really know if it has anything to do with it. Depends on what ship you'll go to. And for us, since we're 900s, all 900s go to ship 2, USS um, Reuben James, FFG 57. Woo! Ship 2. And we marched over. Sea bags full. Everything we needed was in that sea bag. And everything you'll need will be in that sea bag as well. So we marched over, got settled in, and eventually, I can't remember, I think it was in that same week, we ended up going and to go to this place called the USS Red Rover, which is medical, one of the medicals. And that's where you get all your immunizations, you get all your shots, you get blood drawn, um, and all that jazz. So if you don't know what I know it's going to sound silly, if you don't know what a peanut butter shot is yet, be prepared because your butt's going to be hurting for about a week. I promise you. And all it is it's a big thick needle full of bicillin. It's like penicillin, but it I don't know how to explain it. It lasts a little longer or it's a little stronger. I can't remember exactly, but the consistency is like peanut butter going into your butt cheek. It's miserable. It didn't actually hurt me that bad, but a lot of people um, yelled or whatever. It was they were walking around rubbing their butts and hobbling everywhere. I felt bad for them, but it's not too bad. Anyway, but yeah, you'll go there. You'll go through dental. If you need glasses, you'll get them. I ended up getting them. Thank the Lord. I don't wear them like I should, but I needed glasses, so you'll get them. Um, it's basically you'll go back. It's like having another physical almost, but like to the max. And that's that. So a little bit later in the week, you'll end up getting, you'll finally go to uniform issue, can't speak, and you'll acquire your Navy working uniform, your NWUs. And at that point, it's time to, you'll get your blouse, you'll get your trousers, and you'll get your boots. And at that point, I think everybody realized, once they had it on, they had the blue T-shirt on, the belt, and you get your covers, that it was starting to get real at that point. It was really setting in which you'll get your name sewn on, and that usually takes a few days or whatever, and you'll get them back. And yeah, you'll get 3 sets of those, and you'll start learning how to fold them and start doing button drills. And the first beginning part of boot camp is known as the cart phase, and that's phase one. There's 3 phases: cart, MCA, and FEP. And the cart phase is, we're beginning, we're new, nobody really knows anybody, we're trying to get, acclimated and all that. And that's really where it all starts. That's where people are like, okay, this is the foundations, the building blocks. And you know, that's really neat. I really think that's great. But at that point, everybody's stuff is organized. You're getting your racks, you're learning how to set them up and do different drills like that. Um, but after that, eventually you'll somewhere in the course of that you'll have your first inspection, in which you'll have a uniform inspection in which they come around and see that, or you could have a bunk inspection, and they'll check to see if you've stripped the rack correctly and make sure nothing's touching. And then you have to make it up in a certain amount of time and put the towel back on the end of your bed, or excuse me, put the towel neatly back on the end of the rack, and in the allotted amount of time. And whoever it is, whether it's a first class or a chief or a senior chief, it's usually not, but if it is, and they'll come to each recruit and ask the recruit a certain question. It could be your chain of command. It could be general orders, RTC maximum. It could even be general Navy knowledge. So like this stuff that is in the start guide that you got in delayed entry that I highly recommend that you study. And they'll also give you a little book, a little white book, I guess. Somebody said now they've done away with the books. It's all on tablets, which would have been a lot easier than carrying around the book, but whatever. Um, and in that is everything you need to know for the next 8 weeks. Because you also have 3 tests. Not just you have 3 physical tests, which are 3 PFAs. They eventually become PRTs once you're graduated. But you also have 3 computer tests, and they cover everything from, like I said, general Navy knowledge to, um, ranks and recognition to just everything, stuff you'll learn throughout the course that you cover in different classes you go to or different evolutions. Um, so the first test will come up in the CART phase, and like I said, I don't know how many questions it was and all that jazz. I don't even remember what it covers now. But it does cover a good chunk of material from the beginning of your phase. So, everything you've learned in the beginning, um, and so forth and so on. So after CART phase, somewhere along the lines between CART and your next phase, which is phase 2, which is MCA, you'll also have your first PRT, or PFA, excuse me, in which you have to do the allotted amount of time, which is 2 minutes for as many push-ups, 2 minutes for as many sit-ups, and however long you get to run your 1.5 miles, which is 12 laps around the track at Freedom Hall, which is the gym, and it's awesome. It's 2 stories. They got 4 tracks. It's huge, great facility. Um, anyway, you'll do that. There's a new nav admin that came out recently, in which males and females now are allowed to do a pre. It's I don't really know how to explain. You get like guys get like 16 minutes, girls get 18 minutes to run 12 laps, and I sit here and think to myself, why are you given that when you have to beat whatever your age is, though, because it varies your age. When I went to Great Lakes, I was 19, and I had to run a mile and I had to run 12 laps in 12 minutes and 30 seconds or less. So I literally had to be doing a minute a lap, if not better. Um, so, I highly recommend you preparing for that. And same with push-ups and sit-ups. You only get 2 minutes for each, so you need to be dogging it. You need to do them properly as well. It's not form is key, but at the same time, you're looking for numbers, so keep that in mind as well. Um, but you'll have to do your first PFA. Um, After that, and this is one part that a lot of people fear, and I understand it happens to everybody. Your next evolution going into MCA, you will eventually go to the pool, and that will be, like I said, all the buildings have a name for a reason, and names for ships. You'll be going to the USS Indianapolis. If you don't know what happened to the USS Indianapolis, I'm sorry, I can't speak. If you don't know what happened to the Indianapolis, please look it up. She was a cruiser that was sunk after delivering the atomic bomb to the island of Tinian, the lady. A Japanese submarine sunk her. and the crew members had to abandon ship and were stranded in the water, surrounded by sharks with no food or no water. Um, that's why everything you do in boot camp revolves around something that happened within the Navy. That's why you have to do it. So you will go to the pool. The pool is a day unless you fail, and you can either NQS, which is non-qualified swimmer, or prone, one of the two, which means you failed a portion. The pool's an easy day. Now I think back to it, a super easy day, in which you will, males and females, you will line up and you will cross your arms. Well, one arm crossed and you can cover your nose, or just taking a big breath and arms across to keep your head from hitting the water, or any debris in the water is supposed to protect you, by going arm over like this. And you'll step off it's about a 10, maybe I think it's a 15-foot tall tower into the deep end of the pool, in which you'll surface, and you can choose one of four different types of swims to swim to the end of the pool. You can do a breaststroke, a backstroke, a side stroke, or I guess like a freestyle. I don't know what the last type was. Anyway, you have to do one of those four and make it to the end of the pool without touching the sides or standing up once you get to the shallow. If you touch the side or you stand up when it gets shallow, you're done and you're out, and you have to come back another day because guess what? You got disqualified. So be aware of your surroundings when you're swimming. Don't let somebody overtake you. I decided to do the I decided to do a backstroke, in which I wasn't very fast. I had people lapping me. I wasn't worried about it. But just be, mindful of who's around you in the water, because, like I said, if you're laying on your back, you don't realize how close you are to the wall until you reach out and touch it, and you're out. Um, my best suggestion is, if you are swimming on your back and you can't see behind you or can't really judge your distance, just keep swimming until your head hits the wall and they tell you to get out. Um, or you touch it with your arms. I touched it with my arms, and I was done. You'll then go to the end of the pool and sit back down until they tell you to get into the tank. Now the tank it's like a 20 by, I don't know, 15-foot long, um, designated area of the pool in which they have two. And usually they get groups in anywhere from 10 to 20 people. I had 20 people in mind. Um, and you get in this little area which you hold onto the side and you push off. And once you push off into this deep end, you have to do a prone float for 5 minutes. Now, if you don't know what a prone float is, you will take in a large breath of air in which you will float face down in the water where your body looks like you're just dead. um, and you basically just lay there like you're floating face down in the water, and you come up and stick your head back down in the water. You come back up, take another breath, head back down in the water. And the key to this is staying as calm as possible, because a good majority of people I had in my tank ended up panicking. I guess it's just the fact that their head is submerged or something like that. Um, or the constant, feeling like you've got to doggy paddle or whatever you've got to do to stay afloat. But as long as you keep air in your lungs, like I said, it's been a long day, you have to forgive me. As long as you keep air in your lungs, you will stay afloat. And like I say, keep your head down as much as possible, because everyone in that tank with you that's watching you is either a SEAL, SWIC, EOD, a diver, or air rescue. Everyone in that pool is spec war, more than likely. And they will, if you argue or fight them, they will knock you out, because you are resisting someone that is trying to help you, who has been in the water longer than you've probably been alive. So listen to the instructors, say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, and follow everything they tell you to do, because if you don't, guess what? You're on your way out. So relax, take deep breaths, put your face in the water, come back up. If you got to come up for air pretty frequently, fine. As long as your head's in the water more than you're coming up for air, it'll be fine. I got disqualified because someone kicked me in the face and I touched the side of the pool. They told me to get out. I redid it. No problem. Fine. After you've passed that, your final test will be to don or wear a pair of coveralls in which the legs are the legs. The sleeves are undone and it's unbuttoned down to the middle of your chest, in which you will push off on the wall, take a deep breath, and take the left side of the coveralls, open it, and go under. Once you go underwater, you will take the right hand and out of the water, come down as hard as you can, slap the water while pushing force into the coveralls. You're pushing air into the coveralls. You will do this 3 times, and once you've done it the third time, you will seal it off and stick your head above the water to where a bubble will form in the back of the coveralls, in which you can use as a flotation device. Once the instructor has seen this, be good to go. You'll take the coveralls off. When you go to the desk, you'll get your what they call a hard card, which your yeoman will carry in your division. Hard card is everything that shows what you've passed and what you haven't. And once you've passed, you go and rinse off and get dressed and get ready to roll out. Easy day. Um, like I said, it's hard for a lot of folks. A lot of people get scared when they jump off the tower and they can't swim, or they're doing the prone and they freak out, or whatever the case may be. Um, and it happens, but no worries as long as you pass. And that's it. So the next evolution will be you're now in MCA phase. Now you and your division are like, okay, all right, we got this. We're starting to get stronger. We're getting a little stronger. Either you're gonna get stronger or smarter, or you're gonna get both. Our division was both, I would say. Yeah, there are beatings, and it's real. When they pull out that orange card, guess what? Somebody's getting on their faces and doing some form of exercise, and they can run the card a lot. Trust me, we got kind of lucky. I'll just say that. Um, but yeah, so there's that. The next evolution I think we did was you'll go to Marlin Spike. And Marlin Spike was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. If you don't know what Marlin Spike is, it's learning to tie knots. Everything from a bow line to a clinch knot to clove hitch to everything you can think of as a nautical type of knot. Sheepshank, just you name it, you'll learn to tie it there. And which you'll go to another training simulator in which they've got a kind of makeshift looking ship, in which you'll learn to moor the ship, and you'll also learn to you know get underway, and then like I said, moor it again. And that was I really enjoyed that. That was kind of neat. And that's really a team building exercise. That's where you got to rely on your division. You have to rely on your wits to be quick, but you have to be tactful. You can't be all willy nilly with it, because any mistake you make is an infraction, and you want to try to beat the clock without having any infractions, in which we did. So, whoo. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Marlin Spike. That will also be on part two. Now, part two, like I said, you'll have another test, computer test in MCA, which will cover Marlin Spike and passing honors and stuff like that. And I hold on, excuse me. You'll you'll definitely enjoy that, I think. Anyway, then comes the next PFA. PFA number 2. You got to hit that one hard. Like I said, PFA 1 is kind of seeing where you're like, okay, am I okay, or do I suck, or whatever. I'll admit, PFA 1 I didn't do well on. I struggled, and excuse me one more time. Excuse me, I'm thirsty. PFA 1 I struggled on. PFA 2 I struggled on, unfortunately, again. In which throughout the duration, different days sometimes you'll have in-house PT, in which you'll do you do different routines with your APO, which is your athletic petty officers. They'll be designated whoever they are, in which you'll do PT in house, or some days you'll go to Freedom Hall and do workouts there at the gym. And and that's all good and fun, but you need to be prepared physically before you even get to boot camp because it'll help you in the long run. Anyway, but MCA, which is part two, is a lot of fun. Like I said, another thing you'll do is what we called the drawing a blank. It's where you basically get your pistol belts and your holsters, and you'll then learn to you'll eventually stand up watches. The watches, you'll stand up back in cart phase, but you'll finally be able to stand them up armed. Not really, but you're still armed, with a deactivated Beretta. And you'll have to learn how to do the clearing barrel procedures. And I actually thought that was kind of neat. It was very time consuming because we had a lot of guys in our division, but it was a lot of fun. You'll run through different things in which you'll have the pistol pointed down in the clearing barrel. You have to do different things with the pistol, such as, flip it over on one side by sliding the slide to the rear and locking it while ejecting a dummy round into your hand without dropping it, rotating the pistol back around and handing clenched the round behind you to the person behind you so they can go up, and then you hand them the magazine and so forth and so on. Pretty neat, which means at that point you'll be ready to go to your next evolution, which you'll go to the USS Wisconsin. Now the USS Wisconsin and the USS Missouri, you will go to what they call SAM-T, which is a simulated arms manual training, if I'm not mistaken, in which you'll learn to fire the M92 FSA2, which is the 9mm Beretta, and you'll fire the Mossberg M500 12-gauge shotgun. Both are garbage, I'm just saying, but that's coming from me because I used to be a firearms salesman. Anyway, in which these weapons are CO2 filled, picture laser tag and airsoft put together, I guess. It fires a laser, like laser tag, but it's run on CO2, so like airsoft or paintball. And you'll fire a certain amount of rounds in a certain amount of time at a simulated target in this range. And this actually is kind of neat, I guess. I don't know. They were kind of mean to us there. I don't know why. Anyway, in which once you complete that, then you'll go over to the USS Missouri, which is live fire, and that's the real deal. Where you'll go in, which you'll go to the range, you'll fire the Beretta, you'll fire the Mossberg, meaning you'll fire the M9, you'll fire the shotgun, and easy day. That's it. I honestly wish there was more to it. I wish they would train recruits on the M16, M4 platform. You might not even, a lot of people do it when they get to the fleet. Seabees do it. We do it. But I feel like it's a skill that sailors could use. But if that's just me. Anyway, but yeah, you'll go to live fire, and a lot of folks enjoy that. A lot of folks have never even fired a weapon until they get to RTC. So that's it's an experience for them. Some it comes naturally. Some are not good. But anyway, that's always a good time going to the range, and I think a lot of folks enjoy that. If you're one of the first groups up, you ended up getting to go to the armory. I got to go to the armory. It was awesome. Help the GMs sort out ammunition, break down boxes, load magazines. That was really cool. So anyway, but yeah, that basically after your final test, final PFA for MCA phase, that finishes phase two. If I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not forgetting anything. And then eventually, somewhere in there, you'll actually earn the right to get a haircut, considering most of you guys are bald by then. In which you'll go to the next, and they botch it. It looks horrible. It's all jagged and hair sticking up everywhere. But anyway, now you're rolling into phase three. You're finally rolling into FEP. So, and like I said, cart phase, you had an inspection. MCA phase, like I said, phase two, you will have an inspection. It'll be a little more thorough. This one will not just be uniform and asking questions. This one will be bunk and folding clothes. I wasn't a fan of folding clothes. I wasn't very fast. I wasn't bad, but I wasn't very fast. So it's speed and accuracy is the key. Same with making the rack as well. You got to be good. You got to get your 45 just right in the sheets. But at the same time, you need to be timely, especially for someone like myself. I didn't have a rack made uh, for like the from the middle to very end of boot camp. I just got unlucky and got moved from rack to rack to rack after people got AS mode, which means administratively separated. They got sent to another division, or they got kicked out, or whatever the case may be. I just happened to go to their rack. I don't know why. Anyway, but yeah, the at that point, that phase rolls around, phase three. At this point, your division and you are strong. You guys hopefully are all working as a real tight unit, as a good team, know each other very well, or hopefully really well. Um, and at that point, you'll be getting ready to take on, your last endeavors. Um, at that point, of course, you'll have another inspection. It'll be your final inspection. You will also have you'll still have to stay on watches. You're still staying up the watches. Still have your pistol, um, in which your clearing barrel supervisor or weapons petty officer WPO will be in charge of. Um, Now at that point, you'll have test number three. Now that's the last one, and like I said, you got to do good on all three of those tests. Everybody's got to do good, which is highly recommended. But your final big evolution you'll go to. Of course, you'll still have your final PFA, and that's the big one. That's the one you have to pass. Otherwise, it's ASMO train back to another division, and you don't want to do that. Now, your last real big endeavor is, and so I enjoyed. Some people hate it. I thought it was kind of neat. You'll go to the USS Chief, which is no ship, no trainer, in which you'll learn damage control. Everything from fighting fires to learning how to plug, you know, leaking pipes or whatever the case may be. I thought damage control was very informative. It was very interesting. You'll learn about different types of fire extinguishers and stuff like that. PKP, CO2, AFFF, stuff like that. Different Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta class fires, and how to fight them. And unfortunately, my unit didn't get to do them. The trainer was down. It happens. That's also where a lot of people start hating life, because that's the part in which you have to don the M50 gas mask, and that's when you get the old CS gas. Everybody loves tear gas. Um, a lot of people don't like tear gas. I didn't enjoy it. The only reason I didn't enjoy it was because out of all the people in the world, they shoved 160 people in a room, two divisions, my division and our brother division, 914, into the chamber, in which it was blazing hot and humid. And for those of you who don't know about CS gas, tear gas, it thrives in moist, like very humid and hot environments. The hotter it is, the more humid it is, the more the gas is amplified. So yeah. Anyway, and they keep it nice and hot and moist in there. So anyway, the gas is cooking and everybody's just hating life. I was in the very back. I had a crack in my mask. You'll have to seal it. And I had a crack in my mask in which gas was leaking in, and I was pretty bummed about, because I had been standing there for 10 minutes. I'd already been exposed to the gas 10 minutes before I even got to the red line up front. So I was coughing my lungs up. And I'm sitting there coughing, and my eyes, I can't stop blinking. My nose is run. If you have sinus or you have a cold, it's fantastic, because if you've got sinus or anything, it'll run straight out of you, I promise. But my nose is running. I can't quit coughing. You feel like your esophagus or lungs are on fire. Um, your eyes, you just can't keep blinking. You want to keep them shut, but the best thing to do is to keep blinking. Um, and just every orifice of your body is just burning. It's just, oh gosh. And finally, you get up to the red line, and you have to take your mask off, and cup the snot running down your face. And they tell you to. I can't remember if they told you to say. I think you had to say your name and your division and what ship you were in, or what, I don't remember what it was, or your social security number. So I don't remember what it was. It was something, but or your birthday. I don't know. But anyway, and then they open that big door, and that fresh air hits you. It's like, oh Lord, have mercy. It's a fantastic experience. Trust me. But yeah, that's the last trainer, I guess, you'll go to. And but yeah, so yeah, you got that. You got your last PRT. You got your last inspection. You've got your last online test. Everything there is key. At that point, you need to be, your unit plus yourself needs to be like that. You guys have got to be on spot. You have to be ready to, anything that they throw at you last minute, you got to be ready to conquer. And what I'll say that is, you'll when you guys march, each division gets you get flags. So each division will get a flag, or a if you do good on an event, you get a flag. If you do good on, say, a test or an inspection, or where, you get a pennant. And the pennants go on the guide on, or your um, I can't remember. The guidon and your division flag, whatever that was, I don't remember. Anyway, you'll have those two flags and pennants go on those, and you can get the scholastic flag for doing well on the tests. Um, you get, drill flags, which reminds me, I think I left that out. I think somewhere in MCA or FEP, either phase two or phase three, you'll have a drill assessment in which you have to be, you'll practice marching and doing different things. You'll have a CD, learning about, at a normal interval, dress right, dress, or whatever. You have to be on the spot with that, because any mistakes can be bad. Um, but all this leads up to the final test, final evaluation. That's battle station. And I can't elaborate on it because, I did it, but I can't tell anyone else about it, um, except for, other people that's gone through it. So I'm not going to spoil it for you. You just have to go to battle stations and do it. And I would say it's a lot of fun. It's team building exercise. It lasts a long time. You're up for a long time. You're hungry. You're thirsty. I think we got to drink water though, but I was starving. Um, but yeah, it's a team building exercise. When you get to battle stations, be prepared to be very tired, but be prepared to work as a team, and stay strong, because it's worth it. Because in the end, guess what? After it's all over with, you can finally call yourself a sailor. So that's a proud moment right there, like the Marines and the Crucible, I guess. But anyway, yeah, that's what it all leads up to, and that's what you've been preparing for 8 weeks. And finally, after that, you can call yourself sailors. You'll make a phone call home and tell your family or whoever that, hey, I'm a sailor. And then a few days later, graduation. And, graduation ceremony is a lot of fun for 900 divisions. Like I said, we ran it. Band came out and did their thing. I came out with the rifle and, the whole honor guard thing. That was a lot of fun. And that's about it. That is boot camp experience. Some small tidbits I'll throw at you now that I've gone through basically the whole evolution is, be always be aware of your surroundings and your shipmates' surroundings, because they have folks walking around, and you'll see them. Trust me, they walk around with briefcases, and it's called FQA. It's you know something fleet question and answer, or frequently question, some questions. Basically, FQA will come around and ask you any question they want at any time. And it can be anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything, common Navy knowledge. Like I said, ranks and recognition, time. Oh Lord, anything. They can ask you anything. So be on your toes, because guess what? If you get it wrong, they can actually give you hits. There's three types of hits. There's a street hit, which is bad. It means you look like a piece of crap while marching. There's a compartment hit, which is also really bad. It means your compartment is jacked up. whether the head was messed up or the forward hole was messed up, which is where you keep all the cleaning supplies. The laundry room was messed up. Something was messed up in your compartment, and you don't want that. You want to keep your ship shape. So and then there was one more hit. I don't remember which one it was. I think it started with a D. I feel like. Um, I don't remember what it was. I think it was just a regular some discrepancy or something. I don't remember. Anyway, but the goal is not to get any hits because, like I said, it affects your unit and it also affects your RDCs and makes them look bad. And the last thing you want to do is make your RDCs look bad. So keep that in mind. Don't get hits. Be alert. Stay on your toes at all times. Be prepared. Study your the book they give you, well, the tablet or whatever, the material that's on it, study it. Study it religiously because guess what? Anytime anybody asks you questions, plus when the test comes up, you want to do good. You can get awarded with, a Bravo Zulu, which helps your division if you have hits, takes them away. So always be wary, always be alert, and that's about it. That was my Navy boot camp experience. That's everybody's is different. Like I said, 900 divisions on Saturdays. Um, we would go to the drill hall and practice where other regular divisions like Division Zero, Zero, whatever regular divisions did whatever they had to do. 900s were busy practicing at the drill hall for graduation. So keep that in mind if you're drill savvy or musically inclined or can sing or whatever, just keep that in mind when you go through process and when they ask you, do it. It's worth it, I promise. That's just me. Um, I can't really think of anything else. Just be, if there's a position that comes available, like, section leader, port watch section or starboard watch, or the male petty officer, athletic petty officer, laundry POs, head crew, yeoman, any position that, or religious petty officer, whatever, any position that comes available that you think you would be good at, um, volunteer for it. And if the worst comes to worst and you suck, you'll get removed. I got voluntold at the very beginning when there was no positions really assigned. That I was the A-Rock. I was the second in command. And I thought to myself, okay. And I didn't really know how to sing cadence very well at that time, so I got fired. I didn't feel bad about it because there was no real assigned positions, so it was what it was. Um, but yeah, keep that in mind. Um, do what you got to do to tough it out because go to religious services on Sundays. If you're religious, then go. If not, that's okay. I still encourage you to go. Um, and Sundays are great. A lot of folk, as soon as they turn the lights off, sometimes we'd hit the rack at 8, 9, 10. It just depended. As soon as the red lights came on, if you didn't have watch, it was great because I personally would whip out my package full of letters and I'd write my letters home. I'd write on Sundays after I got from church, and then I would write at night sometimes. Like I said, whatever time we hit the sack, I would immediately and just start writing. And sometimes in the middle of the night, so you and the guys would be having a conversation. All of a sudden, the door to the compartment would open, and you'd hear the rover or the standing watch say, "Good evening, petty officer, seaman recruit such and such," or "Good evening, chief." And at that time, if you were up dancing or doing whatever it was you were doing, being retarded, you better believe you better get in the rack because guess what? They were coming in, and sometimes they would come in and shush the watch, say no, 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 and come in and catch you dancing or goofing off. And guess what? It was a bad day. So just keep that in mind. Be leery. Not telling you to go be in trouble, but just be careful. Anyway, and that's all I've got for you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. It means a lot. I hope you guys like the pilot episode, and I'll be videoing next Saturday for the museum trip. It'll be my historical one. So thank you for watching. This video is hour long. So if you can tough it out and watch it, I highly recommend it. And I do apologize for the picture quality, but I'll get a new camera this week, hopefully, I promise. So that's all I've got for you guys. Subscribe and keep watching. I'll make these videos better. And thank you for tuning in. You guys rock and keep on trucking. Take care, guys. Bye bye.